Okay, so I'm in my garage, hopefully away from my family. That sounds horrible. But we are waiting for Marlene to join us. Okay, you guys are in my garage with me in this wonderful lighting, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Um, why do I always forget how to send an invitation? Oh, okay, there we go. She should be joining in just a second. Behavior. So I'm not sure if it went through. Now it's just the waiting game. I wish I could do something fun for you guys while you just sat here waiting. Need to learn how to juggle or something like that. Why is this not working? Uh-oh. Is it working now? You're here.
Oh,
Hi,
hey.
how are
Okay, is
you?
it you were pausing for me? I don't know.
Yeah, it was taking you a little while to come in, but you're here matters. So, hi, I'm in my garage. You have a
Okay,
much
can you hear
nicer
me okay?
setup.
Because I can't see you.
Oh, oh, you can't see me?
Well, you're like kind of it's like all pixelated kind of. Can you see?
Okay, well, yeah, I can, but hold on one second.
Um,
Not better?
yes.
It's better?
Yes.
Okay, you're slightly pixelated on mine now for some reason, but um
Oh.
technology, we'll make it work
I know,
somehow.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna see if I'm gonna exit and then try to come back and maybe that will refresh it.
Okay, cool. So now you guys are stuck with me. But yeah, we're gonna wait for her to join back in. Um we're gonna be talking a lot about like bedtime battles in general, just at the start of the night. So this should be incredibly useful. It is just a matter of making this work. Okay. Will it work? Yay! We're both clear. Am I
Yay!
clear? I'm clear for you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
hallelujah. All right, let's get this going then. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Oh my goodness. So I saw your story where you were like, you're putting on a blouse. And I was like, oh my God, I was going to do a mad dash to change.
I don't think I've actually worn real clothes in like a year and a half. So, it's time. I had like an extra 5 minutes while the girls were playing in the playroom, whatever. um,
Awesome.
yeah, so we can like jump straight into this. I feel like
Yeah.
this is going to be useful. So first we can start with you just kind of telling us about you. I know that in my post I gave a little bit of your background, which is like how you fell into this stuff, what you do, everything you.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi everybody. So I am from Toronto, Canada. I am a mom of two. So I have 13 years now parenting. My daughter's almost going to be 13 in a
Wow.
few weeks. And I have always just been passionate about, helping families and children who are often misunderstood. So I have been helping and supporting and serving families for over 20 years now. And again, I mean, I never get tired. I never get bored. I've always just wanted to really help parents understand their kids, help educators understand their kids. So I also work in the education system as
Nice.
well. And then, of course, I am also the creator of Reward'em visual schedules. And I like to say I help parents be able to tell their kids what to do without saying a word with our visual schedules.
So, with the families that you have worked with, I feel like the teacher side of me has all these questions about the school system one, but I am shifting over to the bedtime side of me. So, typically, what are the issues that you see crop up around bedtime? The age range that these things crop up, and like, what what's the typical problem that you see around sleep?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I usually hear parents, kind of complain and they're at their wits' end, those toddler years and 4 and 5 as well. And those bedtime battles. So I find that the transition for our kids to transition to bedtime is
Mm-hmm.
hard, right? Getting that transition time where we're telling our kids it's time to settle down and they are like, what do you mean the day's done? Like, I want to continue playing, I want to do all this, like sleeping, like who wants to sleep is
Yeah.
boring. And so it's usually that bedtime battle of being able to transition from that fun activity time to, okay, now it's time to sleep. And so parents often see, that's where those big emotions often come out, and there's a lot of tantrums, and the bedtime just seems, to take a lot of time to finally be able to get them down.
And I feel like it's also super hard for parents in general because that time of day is just like we are tapped out,
Yes.
So it's like I don't want to deal with this. I feel like that even, I help parents with sleep. I have my own issues sometimes if my kids are pushing back where I'm just like, I have no patience left for this
Right.
nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that you work with supply visual charts. Can you talk about like what the benefit is to that, what that might look like, how it helps with those tantrums and the big feelings that happen around bedtime and transition?
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of research, evidence-based research that backs up that having a consistent routine is essential to developing,
Mm-hmm.
that bedtime routine, and that, having a smoother transition to bedtime. And so the visual schedules really help to help kids to be able to know what exactly is going to be expected, what is happening in the bedtime for our bedtime routine. It really helps the bedtime routine to be consistent. So, I mean, I feel like this is where it kind of falls apart too, right? So some days, it's shower, some days it's you brush your teeth, some days we're like 3 books, some days we're 2 books,
Right, right,
some days we're no book,
right.
and so it's really inconsistent. And so when you have a visual schedule, your kids, everyone who is putting down that child to sleep knows what steps and what activities, what tasks are part of the routine. And so being able to visually see that, being able for them to be able to see, okay, so after we brush our teeth, we're going to read a story or put on our pajamas. And again, being able to see those sequence of events really helps them to be able to know what's happening.
I feel like also, I don't know, there was like this moment of clarity for me. I mean, toddlers in general are just kind of like little control freaks, right? Like
Yes.
they
Yeah.
want control. We need to give them the illusion of control whenever possible. And as a fellow control freak, like I feel like I had this moment of compassion for my kids, like when I was struggling, like with my oldest, especially, who happens to be the most stubborn one, where it's like we're kind of coming in, and I would be mad too if somebody just like turned off the TV or took whatever it was that I was doing away
Right.
from me, and it's just like on to the next thing, and it's like who are you to tell me what to do? So I think that's really cool that giving them an expectation, it kind of takes away that like what's happening next, and it might even help them feel like they're in control, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I always strongly encourage parents when they're developing their bedtime routine to involve their kids. So it's so important.
Yeah.
There's some tasks, it doesn't matter really what order, well, obviously you're not going to put on your pajamas and then shower, but
Right.
are you going to brush your teeth first and then shower, then brush your teeth? So things like that, allowing them to be able to, as you said, have that control over their schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, it's bedtime. What do you want to be able to do first? Do you want to do this or do you want to do that?
Right.
And again, being able to set clear expectations of, okay, so today it's going to be 2 stories. Like That's it.
Right.
And again, when you see it and you can visualize it, it's harder to argue with, right? And
Yeah.
so like, oh, no, look, that's not on our task list.
Right.
So we kind of can't do it, right? This thing's kind of written in stone. We got to go by the rules. And so a
Right.
lot of times too, especially the younger ones are like, oh, okay, you're right. It's not there. So I guess we can't.
Right. Which actually that's perfect because I've had some clients and even just some friends whose kids like with a bedtime chart, even involving them, giving them the choices, having them put a sticker, like them being the ones to take that initiative. Even then, like the super stubborn ones are just like, no. And they're like,
Yep.
this choice or this choice, like throwing choices back at the parent, like, who are you? But in those particular cases, you know, it does come down to setting a boundary with your kids, right?
Yeah.
So like, I feel like a lot of people come into this with like bedtime chart. It's going to solve all of our problems, right? The chart does the work for us, but like there is an element of us having to
Mm-hmm.
set a boundary, right? Which again, it sucks because it's the end of the day. But what are your thoughts on when kids do push back with these bedtime charts or with anything,
Yeah.
you know, toddler related? What is the benefit of holding your boundary? What might that look like? And how does that help with like the consistency piece?
Yeah, so it is extreme. I can't even stress how important it is that we set those clear boundaries and we stick to it. And again, I think just having that visual and like reminding yourself, that visual is a reminder to us to, nope, like this is what we're doing. Because a lot of times, and even, bedtime and other behaviors, this is why a lot of things end up being prolonged because, one day, as I said before, it's so inconsistent. So, one day they are able to go downstairs and get some extra milk.
Right.
And so the next day, well, of course they're going to try, right? Did that work last night? Is it going to work again? Or how many times last night I asked you 10 times
Yeah.
and I whined a little bit and I cried for 10 minutes. Today,
Yeah.
how many times do I have to, wear you out? And so our kids know that, they know how to push our buttons. They know how to, how much more do I need to cry or whine? And so being able to be consistent, and eventually with that consistency, they'll learn like, okay, I can ask. And they're still going to ask, right? I mean, they're still going to, can I get an extra cookie? Can I get 3? I want one more book. And then, 5 books later.
Right.
So being able to again, be very consistent and be okay with if they're upset because you can't read another book, that's okay. Eventually they'll learn it's 2 books. That's it.
Yeah.
And so just being firm and consistent will eventually pay off. Absolutely. And then they'll be able to know like, okay, mom really means or dad really means, what they say.
Right. I like that also. Great. My thought just totally left my head. I have it now and I can't remember anything. My God. Okay. You were talking about the consistency piece and so like if they're like throwing a tantrum, right? Like if you give in after they've asked 10, 15 times, right? And after that kind of prolongs potential like meltdowns in the future, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
not having that consistency. And I feel like it's important I am literally having the biggest brain fart right now. What was I going to say? Because it was going back to they're still gonna ask, right? They're still gonna ask. So I feel like people, moms especially, like we think that these things going into them, even if we are consistent, it means that our kids are just suddenly going to behave like robots, right? Like they're just gonna do everything.
It's not gonna happen.
Magically, and unicorns will start flying. Like I think that tempering parents' expectations also, right? That's super important for us to just kind of expect that our kids are going to ask. This isn't like, it's not a cure-all for them being human and having needs and like being toddlers, right? Which their job is to kind of push back. So I think that that's super important too. I just wanted to like tack that on there because families, even that I'm working with, right? It's like, they're still asking for water and it's like, it's gonna happen. But the meltdowns have decreased like exponentially, right?
Right. So, yeah. And again, and that's what when I'm in my coaching sessions too, that's what I want to emphasize is that, again, we're not trying to, you're not going to eliminate tantrums. You're not going to eliminate your child talking back.
Right.
But with those strategies, you can definitely reduce how often it's happening. If you limit it, as you said, they would become a robot and they wouldn't be children, and we would have to question like what is living with you.
Right,
so,
right, exactly.
so yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of patience, but I feel like sometimes even, for my own just parenting experience, not even with clients or whatever, but just kind of putting myself in my child's shoes, and
Mm-hmm.
like I remember this aha moment when my oldest daughter was 3 at the time. I had my new baby, my middle child, and she kept running under the table when it was like time for bedtime, right? We hadn't implemented a bedtime chart. I wasn't certified or anything yet. Like none of that stuff had happened. But she was messed up about the transition. And I remember just like reminding myself, like, you know what, after snapping like a million days in a row, she's 3 years old. Like they're supposed to be doing this. Like this is
Yeah,
she is doing
yeah,
her job,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it comes
exactly.
down to us doing our jobs, right?
Yeah, and I feel that when it comes to consistency, I mean, it is hard, and I don't think, again, I think as parents, we're not going to always be consistent. So we want to be as consistent as possible. But what I also encourage parents all the time is that it's almost impossible to be consistent if you are worn out and if you are so overwhelmed and if you are feeling burnt out. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's so important that we begin to take care of ourselves, meet
Mm-hmm.
our needs ourselves throughout the day, right? Taking those moments for ourselves. And, if it's going to be before bedtime, like, I don't know, do you need to take 15 minutes and have your chocolate bar?
Right.
That's me. That's me. Uh, before begin the bedtime routine, because and you want to be able to, mentally be able to be firm
Mm-hmm.
and hold your boundaries, then do that, right? Because like as you said, I know by the end of the day, we're already worn out. We're just like, oh, I have no time to chase you. Like, just get
Right.
to bed.
Yes.
Um, but knowing that's going to be happening, it's so important again that we are fueling ourselves, throughout the day, so that we have that energy for ourselves, so that we can show up and be consistent and be supportive and set those boundaries and really
Mm-hmm.
be there for our kids.
Yeah.
So they can go to bed and we can finally have some quiet time.
Yeah, eat some more chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah, that's as far as timing goes with like, I feel like toddlerhood, you don't have to be as rigid schedule wise, but I've also talked to parents who obviously are super burnt out, like, and they can't stick to whatever sleep plan I've given them, right? Because
Yeah.
they're not having that moment of recharging. I agree with you completely that even if you're going to be later with bedtime, like taking that moment to just
Yeah. Yeah.
before going into battle, like it's what you got to do.
Do what you got to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You got to prepare yourself.
Yeah. So thank you so much. This is awesome. Where can they find your resources? Because it's really awesome if you have something that's available to them rather than, some of the families I work with, they have to make their own bedtime charts.
Yeah.
And I know that we don't do as good of a job. So where can they access, where can people get your resources?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so stop making them. They, these ones are restickable. You just peel them off and you stick them on, and it's
Amazing.
amazing. So Rewardums, you can find me here at Rewardums, rewardums.com. I also have some cool, fun things coming up within the next few days that I'm super excited about. So you can follow me over there. I also have a freebie as well with parent scripts. I was like, what do you do during those times when your child's having tantrums? And so, yeah, definitely come check me out over there. Or as I said, you can also go to rewardum.com to check out the products.
Okay, awesome. I saw that somebody had asked a question. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's for you or for me. It's for middle of the night wake ups. So taking it out on us in the middle of the night when we are too tired to keep boundaries. That is super tricky. But I mean, I don't know if bedtime charts deal with the middle of the night stuff, um, but yeah, I can answer that also over in my stories because it will come down to kind of you're going to have to keep boundaries in the middle of the night too, even though it's like totally exhausting. But as we were talking about, Marlene and I were talking about just consistency,
Mm-hmm.
them knowing what is the expectation going to be if they wake up. Talk to them about what is going to happen when they wake up, whether that's like, you're going to walk them back to bed. I'm not sure if they're in a toddler bed or not. Like what is going to happen, what they can expect from you, and just lay that out, and then you're going to have to follow through with whatever it is that you tell them in advance,
Yeah.
which sucks. But as
Yeah.
Marlene and I were talking about, the more you are consistent, it's going to dissipate. It's not going to become an I mean, you know, they're still going to be kids, but it shouldn't be an issue. But if they're coming into bed with you or you're giving them something in the middle of the night, that's reinforcing it. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I agree. It's so important to have a plan, like as you
yes,
said, right? Being able to say that plan before. And when you do have the chart, like again, you can even use the chart and say, like, what time is it? What does it say? Look, we've done all these
totally.
things. Now it's time for what? It's bedtime. That's right. So bye.
Right. Yeah. There could be something added on to this, like to talk about the middle of the night wake ups.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like
Unless you're
the,
finding the talking's reinforcing and then you don't want to do that either.
yes.
So yeah.
It's also tricky, right?
Yes. Yeah.
These children. Um, but yeah, I think that that's the best part about your bedtime charts is just them knowing this is what's going to happen. These are your options. You know, this is what I'm going to do for you. Like all of that. The more
Yeah.
conversation we can have about like what XYZ looks like on the way to bed,
Hmm.
and the more you follow through with that, the better it is for everybody.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you so
Um,
much for having me.
yeah, and for wearing a blouse. You did not thank me for that, but you
I know.
know.
I feel so special.
This is a nice way to start my morning. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon in
Yeah,
Canada. And we will talk soon. Go over and check out her stuff, guys.
absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.